Welcome back to another episode of the Say It How It Is podcast. Today, my host is Ollie. Woo!
Hello.
You may recognise Ollie from season one? Did you come on season one?
Yes, with you and Gwen.
Yeah, season one. And I recently joined Ollie in his own podcast a few weeks ago. So yeah, we're pretty connected now, aren't we, boy? And we mush.
Mushroom.
Yeah. So our guest today is Jake Smith, who is a professional runner for Nike and NN running team.
Yeah,
Have I got that right?
Welcome.
Trust me, we went over that so many times before we started filming. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really good to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. So yeah, as I said, you're obviously a professional runner for Nike. Have you always been a runner? Like, where's your journey started from your running days?
So I grew up in Hong Kong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
That's a good start. Let's just drop that in there.
I lived there. Both of my sisters were born there. I lived there for 16 years.
Wow.
I played all the sports, football, rugby, hockey. It's one of those where my PE teacher saw that I could run quite well.
Yeah.
First took me up. It was weird in Hong Kong because it's like everyone thinks it's just a city, but there's a bit of a countryside to it as well. So our parents on the weekends would take us over the mountains. You get generally chased by monkeys, wild cows, boars and stuff because it's just Hong Kong.
Wow.
Came to England. I did one little trial for rugby team. I think I lasted 5 minutes. Saw the size of these boys. They were a lot different to basically the whole Asian community. Because I was like one of the best players. I came to England. I was like, no chance.
What position were you?
I was in Hong Kong. I was actually I was a flanker for a bit.
No way.
I'm 5'6" or something. 5 foot, and then
Short
more
king.
scrum half. Then yeah. So it didn't end. My rugby career lasted, I think, a good 20 minutes because I went to live. My parents live in England. I carried on playing other sports, but the running kind of kicked in when I first went to university. So I went to Cardiff Met.
Oh,
Got
same.
coached. Did you?
Did you go to Cardiff Met?
No.
Okay.
Don't go to uni.
I did, yeah. Okay. That's okay. It's fine.
Anyway.
Got coached by my old coach there, James D, and he just I think he saw what I was worth, and I wasn't anything special before university. So you might see all these youngsters in any other sport excel when they're 14, 15, 16. I was not one of them. And I think it's one of those where in running world, you kind of want that longevity. You want to be the best when you're older. And I think every year I've now just made a little bit more improvement. And yeah, then I knew running was the big thing for me. I wasn't the brightest kid, didn't do very well at school. And we'll go on to about my injuries and stuff. But the big thing my parents said to me is, what would you actually do if you weren't a runner? And I actually don't know. I don't have anything else I could do. So hopefully this keeps going for a few more years.
Yeah.
So what was the sport like in Hong Kong?
I think Hong Kong's a bit like China, where it's a very individualised sport, whereas you come to Wales and England, every big sport is a team sport.
Yeah.
So that's why I've found quite cool, actually, is the fact you come to Britain and there's more incentive for a team sport compared to an individual sport. Yeah. So I think my upbringing was always individual sports because of Hong Kong. That I didn't, when I came to England, I saw that you could actually play it in a nice team environment. It was a bit weird.
Yeah, because obviously myself and Ollie both have rugby backgrounds and come from team environments. And I think if for myself, if I then got taken out of a team environment to go into something solo, I don't know how I think I'd find that really difficult. I don't know about you all.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I credit to you though, man. You've got to be a certain type of personality and discipline to be self-driven and motivated to go run on your own or on the track. And obviously now you're in a team, but it's a total different mindset towards doing things like that and self-driven.
It's very tough because most of the runs I do now are solo. But for example, this morning I ran with a few people, and just going for a run and running with a few other people, it doesn't matter what pace you go, it's so much better. Yeah. Because we going through the Welsh winters is quite tough. Yeah. When you get the taff that is flooded and stuff, it's not the best.
We're not gifted with the best weather, are we?
So you came here for uni,
yes,
and then stayed year after.
No, so I actually came here it worked quite well. So my two younger sisters, we moved when I was 16, so I was going into AS. My middle sister was starting GCSEs, and my youngest was starting a new school. So my younger sister loved her school. I hated my private school. That's when my food issues started. saw cams and everything, had no mates or anything, but I think I was so like wanted to just excel in running, but kept losing weight, whatever. I was in the right headspace. Went to Exeter College, which was like the best 2 years of my life, because I don't know what it is. I don't know if you guys went to private school or anything, but I feel like private school kids just think they are so much better than anyone else. And I went to like a college, and it's just everyone's just massive numpties, but it's just amazing people, like down to earth people.
Yeah.
And
my college was definitely the best 2 years of my life. Like I did university, I went to Cardiff Met as well, but college was just like a different level.
I know.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are just on the same wavelength.
Yeah, like I've already said, like I would never ever send anyone to private school. I just it was horrendous, and yeah. Then when I came to university again the first year, I actually think it helped me. I make a joke about it, but I think it actually helped me because I was going on nights out, like, well, I mean, I say 2-3 times, which is quite a bit, but having a Mackey's after, my weight actually stayed the same.
Yeah, rather than losing it.
Weight, so I was like, actually, it saved me that first year going out.
Yeah.
It wasn't the right food to eat, but it was food I was putting in my body.
So you mentioned now around your food issues, like how did that start for you? Like, obviously must have been something that was really difficult for you to go through.
It started very towards the end of when we were living in Hong Kong, and back then we came over to England to watch the Olympics in 2012, and you see like Mo Farah doing well, but then you see all the competitors against them. They are, I mean, you must see like Africans. They are thin and bone. Yeah. They're just bones basically, and I think I looked at myself and I wasn't the skinniest person, but I wasn't the biggest person, but I was like, okay, in order to be like them, I need to get as light as them, basically. So I started losing a bit of weight, and I remember going to like my private school, and I would have like an apple during the day, do 2 runs, sneak off, miss lunch, miss everything, and then have a bit dinner. And I just kept that going, and I went from being a full boarder to a weekly boarder because I was just so upset with it, wasn't happy with myself. On a weekly occasion, my dad would then weigh me on the Monday morning, and if I wasn't over a certain weight, he wouldn't let me go to school. And I had to go to it because like you could get like in quite a bit of trouble. And I remember every Monday morning, I would wake up at like 5-6 a.m. and like literally stuff myself to make that weight. So it's like a boxer, like I was trying to make weight.
Yeah. Was that because your parents were aware of you losing weight?
My parents were very, very scared. And like, I can't go into any, like my sisters have both struggled. I can't really go into much detail, but they've been through everything. Yeah. And I think maybe because, your sisters look up to you, brothers look up to you. So I think my sisters saw I was struggling, and my middle sister's also a very, very good runner. So I think it's a hard concept. So my parents have gone through a lot of rubbish times basically. And yeah, and then when I went to college, because I had good mates who actually looked out for you, it was much better. Even the same with first year. And then when I went to second year university, that's when my time, like I started getting to a level where I was like, I could actually make this out of a career. And then that's when like it was not good. It's like I saw every bit of time come down when I lost weight. And I went to Uganda to run with the team. Yeah. And they sent me out there, and I was the only white guy in a community full of black people. Yeah. They'd never seen a white guy before. And I got down to, like, I don't know why I brought my scales, but I got down to 51 kilos. Whoa. So as a 23-year-old. Wow, man. And I remember, like, there was one day I woke up and I could not physically run because I was so overly fatigued. I called my parents, called my coach, and I said, I have to get out of here. The next morning, I left Uganda. And Uganda's the most amazing place in the world. And I want to go back there because I made good friends and stuff. But because I had such a bad relationship with food, I didn't tell anyone. And it affected my relationship with my girlfriend, my parents, and everything. And it was quite a hard time.
So, obviously, you mentioned that you didn't tell anyone. So, were like your parents or your girlfriend trying to have that conversation with you, and then you were kind of trying to shut it off, or?
Yes, it was the whole 2021. No, I started in 2020. It's like I went to the World Half Marathon Championship.
Wow.
I ran 60-30 for the half there. And I was getting better and better, but again, if you see I don't know if you've seen photos, but I'm very, very lean. And then it was almost like an up and down phase where I'd get really fit, my weight would come down. I would do a race, and then as soon as the race finished, I was either ill or injured because I was so done. And this was literally an ongoing concept for about a year and a half. In 2021, I actually ran a marathon, but I was just pacing it. So I was supposed to drop out, but I finished the race and ran the Olympic time.
Wow.
But again, I took one gel with me, and that was it. No water or anything.
Do you think it's because you took this pressure off yourself? Because it was more like you were just pacing?
Yes. Pacing is very easy because you're not thinking about yourself, how tired you are. You're thinking about the people behind. So it's a bit of like a cheat code.
Yeah.
And because I was in exceptional shape, I could manage it. But then after that, literally after that race, I didn't finish. My body just went downhill.
As if your body just went, the race is done, and now your body's gone, I'm not fighting anymore, I'm just relaxing, and then that's when it kind of hit you, is it?
Well, and then at the end of the year, I made the British team for cross country. But again, then after that, a month later, I went to Uganda. I came back from Uganda, I did a blood test. I had a testosterone score of 4, and at the time, women athletes had to have a testosterone score of under 5. So I technically, as horrible as this
my gosh, what?
I could have been competing against women.
Yeah.
And I had anemia. And I don't know, it will affect every sport. So, for example, in rugby players, if you don't have the strength, to make a maul, make a ruck, make a tackle, the risk of injury increases. So if there's a lot of people getting a lot of bone injuries, and it's not from contact, it's from just everyday running and stuff, that can be, it's almost wear and tear. Yeah. So iron's a big...
Yeah, and for like females, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I'm pretty sure then it can stop your periods.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's
it. Yeah.
So for men, it's very hard because Red S is this thing called relative energy deficiency in sport. And so for females, it's horrible to say, it's a lot easier for them to acknowledge it because they miss their periods.
Yeah,
whereas men, we don't know. We don't have a period, we just don't know. So you almost have to do a blood test. And I found out I had iron and my testosterone was that low. And I was just like, what the hell? And it affects you, everything. It's like, my girlfriend, like, she should have... I was never mean to her or anything like that, but I just wasn't there for her. And I remember in 2022, we went to a family holiday in Lanzarote, and there were like 3 occasions we went out for dinner. And when I saw the portion size, because I thought it was a bit too big, but it was just a normal size, I walked out of the restaurant, just didn't eat anything. Yeah. My girlfriend cried in front of my parents. And that whole year, I just wasn't there for anyone.
So were you diagnosed with Red S at that stage?
Yes. So, no, sorry, that was it. It was literally after that.
Right. So you didn't technically have answers.
No.
Then, and fine, that makes sense.
But I didn't tell anyone how bad I was struggling.
Right.
But my parents and my girlfriend knew something wasn't right. And also James Hennigan, he knew something wasn't right. And at the end of 2022, James, Katie and stuff, we were on a night out in Live Lounge in Cardiff. And
go on, boy.
Instead of enjoying myself, they came literally over to me and said, Jake, you need help. On a night out. And then in January, I literally, I was in floods of tears in that night. And then in January, that's when I spoke to someone who specialised in Red S. At the time, I had a stress fracture in my foot because my bone health was just completely gone. And then 2 months later, I had a stress fracture in my sacrum, which is your lower back. Yeah. And that's purely down to underfueling. Underfueling.
So you're talking about all of these symptoms of you walking out on meals. And if your testosterone level's that low, though, that's going to impact your general mood.
Yes.
And it's going to impact all the other areas.
Yes.
I just want to bring it all the way back though to the start. So indication for you was, if I stay small, I'll be a good runner then?
Yes. So
what does that make you then if you become a good runner?
That's the thing. It's because in the UK there's not, so for example in rugby and in team sports you can be professional football, you represent a team. There aren't actually many opportunities in running because for example, Haaland's 100 mil or Grealish 100 mil. Yeah. Runners, we don't get paid to, there's a guy who might be on €1 million a year. That's the biggest contract I've heard. Yeah. €1 million a year is what Haaland makes in less than a month, for example. So the money in sport in athletics is so low. So in order to get that sponsorship, you need to be the best. So it's if you get to League One or League Two, you're still making a living just being playing at that level. Whereas in running, you need to be at that. You need to be the top. If you're not at the top, you're not doing it. So you will put everything into it. So for example, in Kenya now, they have 150 athletes done for doping.
Yeah.
Because you've seen their backgrounds. Like when I went to Uganda, they have, compared to us, 99% of the population have nothing. Yeah. So how do they get that money? They have to find other measures to get there. Yeah. And they don't care if they cheat, because if they win 100 grand from one race, that sets them up for life, for their family. Yeah. And then if they get done for doping, they're like, whatever, they don't have to give the money away. They're set for life.
It's just because of all I'm thinking of is because obviously, like, it is so hard. You've literally got to be in that 1% group to get that opportunity. The sacrifices you've had to do, not just physically, but like mentally, man. Like this impacted so many areas of your life that just to get that opportunity to be good enough, it's like ingrained then in the belief system that I have to be this weight to be this good and to hit this time, and then I'm good enough. But it's like being good enough has essentially sabotaged all other areas of your life. It's amazing that what you're willing to do to go, but it's so hard at the same time, man.
It was tough because 2022, because I had that stress fracture in my foot, but beforehand I lost friends because I would never go see friends because I was like, I think I just didn't have the energy to actually do anything else, just train. Because I was like, I remember using like a fitness app, you know, the calorie counter. Yeah. And I would eat 2,500 and burn 4,000 or 5,000. And I just wouldn't let myself.
Such a day of deficit is incredible.
And then I would have like this, I still have it for this like Sunday ice cream day, and I have like 2 tubs of ice cream just to try and catch up. Yeah. And I would
have that big binge then,
but I would get you know what you get after a binge where you're like really upset.
Yeah, and it's like that down phase. Yeah.
And on the Monday I felt rubbish, and it's because I had to wait another week to allow myself to eat something.
So what's your relationship now with food?
I've never been happy. So it's taken me 2 years. So in 2023, that's when I had the sacrum stress fracture, and I put on Instagram, I'm struggling with red S basically. And for 5 weeks, I couldn't do any sort of training. So you tell, for example, you two, like, I know you guys play rugby, but you tell you can't go for a walk, you can't do any gym work, you can't do anything for 5 weeks. You can only sit there.
Well, yeah, we have, Tell me that now, I think, all right, but tell me that 2 months ago, and I'm like, absolutely not. Gosh, yeah. Well, we've had our fair share of injuries, so,
really?
Well, we've been out quite a long time, so, yeah, that is... I can empathise, well, not to the extent of the level that you've been through, but I think we can both empathise with that type of...
You've had a lot of surgeries?
Yeah, I think I had 3 surgeries in 6 months. 2 on my knee and one on my stomach because I got diagnosed with endometriosis. And that was literally a 6-month period. And when I got... Sorry, this story's just going. But when I got diagnosed with endo, I literally had the surgery and I went back to the gym in the same week. And it was the terrible decision because obviously everything around your abdominals, you breathe, you speak, you sneeze, you cough, you walk, everything, you use your stomach muscles for everything. And I was like, I'll be fine, and I was so not fine. Literally going to the gym to do the bare minimum, but the bare minimum was like too far.
Sneezing would have hurt, wouldn't it?
I genuine, after my surgery on my stomach, I couldn't even cough, couldn't sneeze, couldn't do anything. It was so painful. I didn't actually realise how much you brace. And I went back to the gym. I was like, oh, I should not have done that. And then that set me. I am, yeah. Well, yeah, I've heard that before. And then that set me back. But it's just because in my head I was like, crazy lady. Now I need to go back. I need to do this. I need to do that. And then now, anyone that had the surgery after me, I was like, don't make the same mistake that I did. But yeah, I think it's hard, I suppose, when you're an athlete to be told don't do something that was been ingrained in you to always do. Yeah. And I think what it sounds like from what you're explaining, that how you ended up in the position you were was that internal pressure that you kind of put on yourself to try and be the best. If that makes sense. Yeah,
and it was tough because I was at I'd been to World Half Marathon Championships. I ran that Olympic time at the time. I wanted to go to the Olympics, and then I felt like I was at bloody square one, basically, not even square one, below square one. And I had to move back home because I knew my parents were going to be there for me, and they live in Seaton, which is on the southwest coast of England, so it's a beautiful area, but you don't want to be there for more than a few weeks. And the first week I was just like in a bad place. I started like not binge eating, but when you eat so much at one given time, because I was like, okay, my body's ruined, I need to do something. But you don't eat everything in one sitting. And then you feel terrible for it, and then you're like, I can't eat now because I've eaten all those calories, and then it's like this vicious cycle. It's funny because when
I first started my like international career, I started doing sevens, and sevens is obviously a very intense version of 15s. And it was obviously, training was really hard, and I was younger, I was like a teenager, so I was like, I really need to make it. So in the week I would be really, really strict. I'd eat really clean, and it'd come to the weekend, and then my mindset would be like, I'm free now, and I'd binge on the weekend, and I'd make myself sick. Really? So honest to God, I'd eat whatever I wanted, and then I'd feel so ill, and I wouldn't make myself sick, I would just be sick, and that would just happen all the time, and I never learned my lesson. And then it comes to the Monday, clean all week, take me a few days to get over being ill on the weekend, comes to the weekend, because I've trained so hard and eaten so clean, I can do what I want, sick again. And that was like a vicious cycle for like a fair few months, because like that early stage of like, obviously we weren't full-time professional, but being in an elite environment, I just thought that's how, as a young teenager, that's how you should do it. And I thought the weekends are free, and then I obviously like quickly learned that wasn't the case. But yeah, that would happen to me all the time, and I'd be like, why am I being sick as this naive teenager? Well, it's because you've calories in the week compared to the weekend is absolutely ridiculous.
That's interesting. My mum is like a massive baker.
Me and her would get on well.
We're going mushroom, we're clicking. So my mum would cook all the time, right? So when I was younger, my dad was like, look, you're pretty small for like compared to everyone else. You're gonna have to do boxing to self-defend yourself. And so like, I was like, thanks, Dad.
Cheers, Dad.
Got into boxing when I was like 13, 14, whatever, and a couple of amateur fights. But Mum would like, you'd have to make weights, and you're in boxing. Yeah. So I'd eat well all week, and then someone say you got to fight in a week or two, and then Mum would like fairy cakes, Welsh cakes, sponge cakes, chocolate cakes. Mum would be like, have one of these, not knowing at a young age what's good or bad for you. Mum would just give you like crisps, chocolate cake, and then I'd go to like boxing, like, you're like 3 kilos over me. So I'm like a 13-year-old, bin bag on, skipping rope, just trying to drop all of that. So my nutrition ideas growing up were terrible, but you just learn from your mistakes, I guess. And stop eating my mum's Welsh cakes.
I don't know. I don't think I'd be able to say no to that.
Oh, honest, I have to dodge them now. Said the other day, I popped to her house the other day. I said, "Oh, Mum, I'm eating well at the moment." She's like, "Oh, great. Oh, look, there's a cheesecake in the fridge. Do you want some?" I was like, "Mum, what are you trying to do?" She's like, "Oh, I didn't think it'd be bad for your diet." And I was like, "What?" Like, how does that not sound good? But anyway, that's Mum's for you, innit?
Yeah, it is.
Nans are the same as well.
Nans are terrible. My grandma, she's a Welsh cake baker. Yeah. Oh, I'll say I'm on a diet and I'll go there and I just can't say no. Do you want a scone? All right.
Make sure it's like they want you full. They want you rolling out the door, Nans.
Yeah, they're feeders, aren't they? Yeah. They haven't done their job if you're not rolling out of there. Okay, we're going off topic.
Sorry.
So one thing I want to speak to you about is to dive in a little bit more around the Red S, because before I heard about your story, I'd never actually heard of Red S, and Ollie mentioned earlier that he also hadn't heard of it before. So if anyone's listening to this, could you just explain a little bit more about what it is, and then how it actually has affected your life since you've been diagnosed with it?
Yeah, so it's called relative energy deficiency in sport, and it's a weird one. So the best way I can describe it is, so people have food disorders, so when they don't eat enough, but they purposely don't eat enough. Whereas Red S can be, so I had to get my mind around this, but even those people who don't suffer with a food disorder, if they don't eat enough, they can be in that, like, in that bubble of having Red S
on accident.
Yeah. So for example, my biggest thing to say is, if in your context, if someone plays a rugby game, and I don't know you two, if you feel sick after, I mean in sevens especially when you're sprinting everywhere, you feel sick after the game, and say it's a 7:30 p.m. kickoff, and you're done by 10 whatever, and you're knackered, and the first thing, and you feel sick, you don't want to eat, if you finish that game, you're not technically with Red S, but you are going to that night's sleep in a deficiency.
Yeah, makes sense.
So imagine doing that day on for a given time. So a lot of people actually don't think, oh, I don't have Red S because I don't have a food disorder, but you can still be in that Red S bubble if you don't eat enough for a good amount of time.
So it could even be someone just not and having the knowledge or understanding around fueling.
Oh yeah.
So it could be literally an accident where you think, if you don't have an understanding around nutrition or what you should be eating and what you shouldn't, you could be doing it without even realising.
It could be literally, that's the thing, because normally, when you come with a food disorder, it's like, it's horrible to say, but when I say to you food disorder, all you're thinking about is someone who's like maybe very skinny, very petite, basically very small. With red S, it can be literally anyone. It can be someone who, maybe not obese, but like someone who's trying to like lose weight and everything. It can be of any standard. So it can be an amateur runner, it can be an amateur rugby player, it can be elite runner, elite amateur, elite sportsman. So I think that's why it's quite dangerous, because no one really respects it. And of course, before I got diagnosed with it, I thought I was in that time frame of like eating disorder. I thought I knew I had both. I knew I stopped myself from eating. So when the worst thing is when you weigh something, like I love Nutella. Like I have Nutella every single day.
Hello.
Nutella snacks. Nutella snacks. Sorry, I did ask Jake before he came, what's your favourite snacks, please? And he said Serene and then something with Nutella. So here he is.
Thank you. And but when I used to weigh Nutella, like now I have just like before this I had knives of it and stuff. But I used you see how many like calories is in one little teaspoon.
Oh, I wouldn't even want to know. I wouldn't want to
it's,
know.
It's horrible. And because I was so crazy into weighing everything, and like I've gone out of that, but it did took like almost 2 years to almost get out of that headspace.
I think that's really interesting because when, I suppose, as an athlete, what your training technically is based around fueling, because if you're not fueled, you're not going to perform. And when you're in a performance environment, that's like a vicious cycle. Yeah. And at the beginning of when I first went full-time professional, I was not as fit as what I should have been, and I was a bit larger for my position. So I was like, I need to lose weight. Obviously trying to balance an elite performance role and working full-time was very difficult. So I wasn't in the shape that I should have been. So then when I went full-time, I was like, right, I need to lose weight. So I started tracking. So I used I used the apps, started tracking, started weighing everything. In rugby we get food throughout the days. I wouldn't eat it. I'd bring my own because I knew all the calories that was in it. And everyone would be like, "Oh, you brought your own breakfast?" And I'm like, "Yep," because I was like, I know what I'm eating. And then I started to see the difference, and I started in a good way. It wasn't like it became unhealthy in how I looked, but it was becoming unhealthy in the sense of in my head, I was like, I can't eat this because I haven't got weighing scales to weigh it, or it doesn't have a barcode on it, so I can't scan it. And in the sport that I'm in, I was like, I can't do this. This is so silly. Rewind 2 years before that in COVID, obviously we had so much time, didn't we? We had so much time. Everyone became absolute athletes throughout COVID. And that's how I got introduced to the tracking. And that scared me because I had all this time to be so anal with the tracking that I was weighing like an ice cream cone, and I was weighing everything to a T, and I was the leanest I've ever been, the fittest I've ever been, but it became really unhealthy that I was like, this is too far. So I think when I started doing that then, when I first went pro, I knew what had happened during COVID, so I was a bit like, I'm in a different place now where I can't afford to be worried about these things in a team environment. Like, you go away on a game weekend, you go to a hotel, my nutritionist was like, do you want me to bring a scale? And I was like, oh, gosh, am I going to be that weirdo that's like in the corner in the room with 30 people going up, weighing the chicken, and going back, weighing the wedges, going back and weighing this. And I was like, is this what my life is going to be like now? And I was like, right, I'd have a word with myself to be like, you can still manage your portion size and manage what you're consuming without thinking, if I don't weigh it, I can't eat it. Or does that make sense? So it becomes that mental side of things where it becomes that battle in your head. And I think when you're starting to see, like you mentioned, when you were seeing your running time, your race times coming down, and you're like, oh, what I'm doing must be working. But then I think you don't, like when you take a step back, you don't actually then realise, okay, no, this is actually affecting everything else. And you mentioned about your social life and things like that. And it would be the same for me, where I was starting to notice that if there wasn't calories on the menu, I'd be like, ooh, that makes me feel uncomfortable. Like going to a Nando's, I'd be like, oh, I can't have a double chicken wrap because that's an excess. And I was, oh no, this is getting out of hand, you know?
So that's one thing I'd still do is when I go, that's why I love going to Europe, because they don't have numbers of calories on the menus. Because I was so obsessed with it. So sometimes still when I go out with my girlfriend, I will ask them if they do have a non-calorie menu, because I spoke to my parents about this, and when they don't go out much, for example, and when they go out, they want to enjoy any meal. They're both very athletic, and it's like, they don't want to go out there, and they've said their heads have definitely changed when they see a four-digit number instead of a 3-digit number. It's a trigger.
It's a trigger, isn't it? Really?
Exactly.
I katsu curry in Wagamama. Say 1,000 calories, 1,000 odd calories. Wow. Couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't be able to look at a katsu again. Same way.
you know with the running, did you get to a stage where you were so deficient and energy levels were so low that you were enjoying it, or was it the chore, or was it like the thought process of like, I got a big event coming up? Would that overwhelm you? Would that excite you?
So that day in Uganda, so like I was training with, so Joshua Chep's he just won the last Olympics for 10K, double Olympic champion training. He was my training partner. I trained with this guy called Victor Kiplangat, who won another Ugandan who won the Commonwealth Games. He won in Birmingham, the marathon, and the last World Champs, not the one previously, the one before that. And I was keeping up, not with this Chaps guy's just, it's one of those, have you ever trained with someone, you're like, yeah, he's another
next level.
He's not on this planet, he's on a different planet. But this Victor, and I was like, okay, if he's running 205, 206, becoming world champion of marathon, I'm keeping up with him, I'm in a good place. And then that last day, it was funny because, as you can see, like, Africans are the runners are very skinny and stuff, and they come up to me after 3 weeks and said, they literally went to me and said, Jake, you look too skinny. And I'm like, surely that's the first time they've ever said that to a white guy. Yeah. Like my face was so scrawny and everything. And the last day, we were running up, we go down from 2,500 meters elevation, so like 7,000 foot altitude, down to because it was on this mountain, so down. And we were running on this flat bit, and the pace was just very simple for what we'd been running. I could not physically do it. Just physically could not run. And then I did the blood test, and that was tough because then I didn't want to do anything with running, because you go through phases. And to try and get back, that's why I think I'm quite strong in the mindset, because I've seen there's not many guys who've actually came out and said they have Red S, and there's only one Olympian who went to Rio Olympics in 2016. He came sixth, but then he struggled with Red S after. As soon as he struggled with Red S, I think he tried to get back in the sport, couldn't get back to his level and just stopped. Whereas the woman I spoke to, who has this thing on Instagram called Project Red S, she actually, which was, I think, well, I can't really say, but she's already had 2 children, and considering she had Red S, like, you know, it stops you from having periods. Like, a lot of girls who don't have periods to have a kid almost is huge. And she's having a second kid in July or something, and she's the happiest she's been. But she came back from Red S, her name's Pippa Wolven, and represented GB again on the cross country, and it was amazing.
That's amazing.
So, like, she's my massive inspiration, and I'm trying to do it on a men's side.
My man.
So yes,
the last 2 years, like, I've run 60-31 for the half, but
just cash, 60, cash.
Fucking half, like, what?
I don't have heart failure. Can't even run up the stairs without being out of breath now.
The stroke just thinking.
Yeah. I'm actually sweating at the thought of it. But just something you said previously when you mentioned that the guys were saying to you, you're looking too skinny. When you started then becoming more, like when you got diagnosed, you started feeling a bit more comfortable speaking out about it, did you have conversations with these guys around, what are you doing to fuel? What are you eating? Because obviously you said you were trying to chase these guys, I want to be like you, but was there anything that you put the position yourself in to be having those conversations with those people?
So I couldn't really speak to the Ugandans about it, because the coach I spoke to out there, their livelihoods are so different. So live in Uganda, so you go flying to Kampala, so you have to go to Kampala first, and then you drive, like, it's only about 200 kilometers, but there's no road system in Uganda. There's literally nothing. It takes 10 hours to drive 200 kilometers. Like, I was out there, and 2 weeks later my girlfriend came out, and it was nuts. She came out, like, it's horrible, but like a young white girl going through Africa by herself, not knowing where it was. You don't have phone signal or anything, and
Sounds like a good girl, this
Yeah,
girl.
Is this the girl that's been with you throughout all
Yeah,
of it?
she's-
No way, so together.
Give her a medal.
Yes, give her a shout out.
Sorry,
What's
bro.
her name?
She sounds
Katie
like
O'Hare.
Katie, you sound like an absolute legend.
Katie, you're a rock, mate.
Yeah,
Well
put a
done.
ring on it. Have you put a ring on it yet?
Nah, she said I have to wait until we get the house and then
Ah,
she makes
Katie, you're going to get that ring, girl.
But yeah, so we get,
Sorry, I just put you off track. Sorry, carry on.
and but when they told me about their eating habits, they don't get. So for example, I didn't live in the house. They have like an elite house, but they have like their rooms are half this space and just tins almost because they want to live. They live in like such rubbish environments, but they just want to live so locally. But then the coach came up to me and said, "Oh, don't eat meat every day." I'm like, "What do you mean don't eat meat every day?" He's like, "These guys don't do it." So I started doing that. And I was like, but then I'd gone from eating meat every single day.
And that being your protein intake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To not eating meat every day. He's
What
like,
was
these guys don't do it. Yeah.
What was their protein intake then?
So that's what I've now realised. They live such a different, they don't have in capture, delivery will take another 300 years, whatever. Like it will never be there. They don't have any real fast food. They eat so clean, but they don't have much protein intake almost. So I remember where we were staying, like one night we didn't have chicken. The next night the cooks are carrying basically 3 dead chicken. They just
It just depends what they can get.
Exactly. So
I suppose if they've never been brought up around relying on that source, then I suppose it's different for you. Having that being so accessible to you and then not eating it, then you can understand why your body's probably a little bit different.
But also because at altitude you get more red blood cells. Right. So that's why the Africans are ahead of us at the minute, because red blood cells, you come down, you have more hemoglobin, you can transport more oxygen to your muscles, so you run quicker.
I'm learning so much.
So they've because they're born at altitude, so me going up to altitude for the first time, they're used to it. Me then trying to follow their diets at a deficit almost, it just ruined me.
You just cut your protein out as well to top it off.
Exactly.
You've set yourself up to, very much fail in this scenario.
Exactly. But the funny thing was, I spoke to some of them and they came down because they send them to like Amsterdam to the marathon and stuff. They come to stay in 5-star hotel in Amsterdam. They hate it.
Really?
They're like, we hate
So
this. They want to go
different,
back to their local little
what they know.
Like they have like a little mini bar, like a triple queen bed, whatever. They absolutely hate it. They're just on their phones to their family and stuff, and they can't stand it. It's like, that's what I was thinking. We bring them down here. They sometimes, I have heard, they struggle to compete to their best because they're just not localized. So I said to them, look, you guys threw me under the bus. Like, I had no one with me for the first 2 weeks until my girlfriend came, and then when she left, I had no one to speak to almost. And I was like, and then I think they understood. They were like, fair play.
So, fast forward to where you are now. Obviously, you use your platform to, like, speak about your experiences and speak about Red S and how that's been for you mentally. What place are you in now where you feel comfortable having these conversations? Because obviously, like, when you came to the podcast today and I asked you, is there anything you don't want to talk about? And you're like, no, I'm open. But obviously, it's taken you a long time to get to this stage where you can actually feel comfortable speaking about it.
It's tough because when I spoke out about having Red S, I don't know if they have this in like, if they have like a platform for rugby, but there's this thing called Let's Run, so this website, and it's all these like absolute, just fat Americans who are just chatting absolute rubbish about every single athlete. I don't know if they have that in rugby. So, for example, like
a Reddit, is it?
Yeah, but
where they feel like that you've got the best knowledge runners in the world on this platform that know the best.
Like, I'll speak saying something like Lee Halfpenny, say if he has a bad game, bang, 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 rubbish, done. Like, he should retire now. Not what he's done for sport. Usain Bolt has to stop. He's lost the race. What he's done for the sport.
Yeah, they forget about the achievements. It's just that one moment, And
I actually thrive off it. Hatred on... Nice. I love it. But
love that.
I got so much hate about... like, oh, he's never going to get back to his level, blah,
really?
blah, blah. There was a guy I actually put on Instagram, but he said he's never going to get back to his level because of everything he's gone through. He's washed now. He's not going to break 2:12 for the marathon. I did it.
Washed now?
Yeah. I ran 2:11:57 London. I put it on my Instagram and said, what's my next challenge?
Yeah.
You should have screenshot it.
Yeah, I did.
Yes, love that.
I screenshotted it. I don't know who it is, but I screenshotted it, put it on and said,
Well,
what's my next
if you're
challenge?
listening, mate, eat that.
Thank you, mate. You've inspired him.
But yeah, it's like I'm getting every race I'm doing. I still haven't run a PB in over 3 years because, yes, when I was like, it's one of those things. I've done fitness testing. It's like my VO2's gone up, but running economy is, I don't really know the science behind it, but running economy is divided by your weight. And I've put on 10 kilos, basically 10, 15 kilos.
Nice.
So my economy, my actual values is the same as before, but the actual economy is worse because I'm heavier.
Right,
So
makes sense.
Yeah,
I get you.
But then the fitter I get, it'll come down anyway.
But how do you feel? Do you feel healthier? Do you feel like when you're running now, do you feel the difference even though you're not that bit? Because I'm looking at you and you still look lean. You look in great shape. Do you know what I mean? I look at you and I don't think, oh, you're either fat or you're too skinny. Like you could probably run to the shop and back and we still wouldn't be downstairs.
Jokes today.
Sorry, I know, I'm fucking full of banter.
He's been eating all his
I was
popcorn. He's just got too much energy.
Sudoku. Drop.
Plug.
No, sorry, I was trying to compliment you then and then.
Yeah, well, sorry. Yeah, you do look good. What are you weighing? That's
I'm
okay
like,
to ask.
I got for London Marathon. So like London Marathon was what, 3.5 weeks ago, and I got down up 65, 66.
Nice.
So in Uganda I was 51.
Whoa.
So like, but then I haven't got an injury for the last 2 years. No injuries, and
Yes, nice.
So every race I do. So for example, broke 2:12 in the marathon. It was within a minute of my PB, but that's when I was in crazy shape. And I won Bath half, so I won that race in 62:20.
Whoa.
So it was a hilly race, so I'm getting close because my second best ever time for the half is just under 62 minutes. So I'm like less than 30 seconds off, and I'm 10, 15 kilos heavier. And as soon as I finished, I said I can go quicker because I have that
So your
strength.
best half is 62 minutes?
No, 60-30, but I just did it once.
Wow.
Whereas like my second to eighth best times are within
Wow.
61:50, 62:20. So I'm back to my best.
Well, excuse the pun, but it is a marathon, not a sprint. And
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
And I think that obviously the journey that you've been on, to like give yourself a lot of credit, to think how this is the healthier version of yourself that you are now putting all this time into, and you say that running is going to get better with age. So you think now, if this is what you're like now, what are you going to be like in like 2, 3, 4 years?
I say to them, because I'm 27 now, but then I don't look it. I have a very baby face, but then I say to people, I'm like 2, 3 years old because, say, Red S was 2, 3 years old before. But the best thing is because I have so much strength. So, for example, I ran 13:46 for the 5K on the track last year, and this year I want to go 13:20. And it's like 13:20s, and I know I can because I have the power. And it's the
which is something that you didn't have before.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
So I'd go into a last lap, I was done. Whereas now I'm like, I can win races. So Bath Half, for example, I would never have won it. But now there was a hill at the end, and I was like, I can win this.
That must be so good for you mentally now to think of how powerful that is to be like, comparing those two different mindsets, if that makes sense. Like you just said, you wouldn't have won the half, but now you're like, I know I'm in a much better place, so I've got this.
So 2-3 years ago, I'd have been like, no, I can't win many races. Whereas now I'm like, I can win. There are certain athletes I can't beat, but there are like
times for yourself or goals that you know that you can achieve.
But the biggest thing that's helped me is, I don't know if you like you were talking about race weight. So everyone thinks race weight is how skinny or low in weight you can get, but race weight I've actually spoke to my nutritionist about it, and it's basically what weight you can maintain, which allows you to train every single day without getting an injury. So I've been 2 years now, touch wood, but no injuries. So my race weight is 65, 66 kilos because I've spent the last 2 years at this weight, perform every race. I'm getting quicker and quicker, getting back to being one of the best in Britain, and I'm taking my time. But this, I know, so even if I went down 62, even my girlfriend said, if you go down 62, you could break, and I know it can. Yeah. Because I am maintained this weight for the last 2 years, and I'm performing to my best.
Wow, I love that for you.
So you're doing the hill, so you've got certain races which have got more incline involved, and you've got some that are more flat out. What works best for you?
So I had this chat about it. So I want because I have more weight around me, I want that, like for London Marathon, I was hoping it was like 40-mile-per-hour headwinds, like, because I was like, it won't affect me because I'm a lot stronger now. Whereas all these skinny Africans, they were not going to like that. But the hills, I like the hills. So we're doing this thing called Castles Relay in 2 weeks. It's really cool, but it's like, I don't know how many teams do it, 40, 50 different teams, and it's 20 castles from we start in North Wales to South Wales, and it's a relay leg.
Wow.
So
Oh my
20
God, that's
people,
cool.
So it's
That's
over 2
cool.
days. So it's like the first leg starts at 9 a.m. on Saturday, but you don't pass a baton or anything. So it's each leg has its own race, and then the second leg starts at 10 a.m. at a different castle, a bit further away, but it's literally 20 castles downwards.
And how many are in a team?
20. So it's everyone does a leg.
Oh, got
So
got you.
each leg is from 6 miles to 13 miles. So it's, and some
It's
legs,
actually really cool.
well, some legs, 6 are mountain stages. So one of them you run up the Garth. So it's literally uphill. One of them's downhill. So each leg is completely different.
Do you know what leg you're doing?
Yeah, I'm on the first day. I'm on leg 3. So I'm trying to get the record.
Nice.
So
Nice.
You got,
so I got the record last
Give
year.
your legs a bit of a look, bro. You got some solid legs on you, though.
Go on, boy.
It's good, though, for
Yeah.
those, isn't it? Good
No, I know.
quads and calves.
I try. That's the thing. I've always been. That's what I neglected, because when I was like 14, like when I was playing rugby, for example, I was like, I wasn't the biggest, but I was a flanker. And I've always been, my body type's always been a bit bigger than the normal runner, and I neglected that, and I didn't use that was my strength almost, and I took my strength away. So when you take your strength away, you won't perform. And then now I've got back to what I was previously.
Nice,
I'm like, okay, I can run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you is, how important has your support network been during this process? And if someone is listening that may be either suffering with RLS or kind of similar things that you went through, what support would you advise them to try and get? Obviously, you said you had a nutritionist. Did you use any other form of support in that sense?
So I probably spoke to about 4 or 5 different psychologists, because it can be quite hard to find the one you trust.
Yeah.
And I didn't trust any until the last person I spoke to.
I get that for sure.
And a nutritionist, spoke to Renee. She really, really helped me in the start phases. And then when you get better, you're like, okay, I'm in a good space. I can almost go through, because I know what I need to eat, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. And my coaches, I moved coaches to Gavin and Joe Pavey. I don't know if you've heard of them, but Joe went to 5 Olympics for GB.
Wow.
I think she won when she was 40 or 42 years old. She won European golds 10 months after giving birth.
Oh.
So it's
That is insane.
So
Fucking hell, that's mad, isn't it?
but then you will see a lot of women coming back to the sport actually running very well after giving birth, because they do have that extra bit of. It's something that the science I might have said
I
it
just
made
could
rubbish,
not.
but it's something like that.
That's
If I
mad.
I could not imagine myself even in being in a shape to even return.
Yeah. So Joe,
heck.
10. It was like 10 to 12 months later.
Wow, that's insane.
But my coach is he takes he will talk for Britain. Like, if you have him on here, you will have to tell him to shut up. He will talk for Britain.
And we're now in 2027.
But he knows every single story, and he had.
Fucking hell, that's a good one.
Thank you.
But he had like every year he would have like a calendar of when her periods were, and would place them on the calendar, so she didn't have a hard workout or race around it.
Wow.
Nice.
Smart.
I
But
love
he was
that.
like, he was so into it now, and those two I owe like my whole life for, because they took me on, but I didn't tell him I was struggling with food in the whole of 2022. So when I got my stress fracture, he was like what's going on or anything, like he didn't know. And then we had a chat, and I told him about it. He's like, okay. And then in 2023, he literally used his words and said, we are training like a 10-year-old girl for the first 2 months, because your body cannot handle this stress.
Whoa.
And ever since, he's just like, it's one of those. I have a wedding on Sunday, for example. If I'm drunk or pissed, I will just call him, and he will pick up and stuff like that. Like,
You've got that connection.
we
That's
had
like a best mate.
Yeah.
we had Joe. We had her 50th birthday. We celebrated it with but my running group. It's I do take the piss out of him. But I say it's like every broken athlete goes to it.
And he has to fix everyone.
Nice, man.
But,
Sounds like a good guy.
Oh, he has so much credit.
I was going to say, so off the topic a little bit, right? But what are your thoughts now where, like, running's become cool? Like, not as if it never was cool, but there's run clubs, everyone's doing 5Ks and couch to 5Ks or 10Ks. Surely that's bringing more eyes on the sport.
Yes,
Which could generate more income, more money, more opportunities.
So, for example, Runner is now linked with Strava. So there's Runner is it's like a training website where they have like coaches and you can follow plans. There are some influencers, like you have in every sport, who I cannot stand in the running world. And I would love to name quite a few, but I'm not allowed to, so I might get cancelled.
And we might get cancelled too, so let's not.
And they are like...
Do it.
Hey, I'd kick you off now.
He's on and gone.
But they are just giving out completely the wrong information. And it's always people who... it
have like heavily influenced like big followings and stuff like that.
That, and they think they can get away with anything. And then me being in the position what I've been through, and I'm not saying like, for example, if there's been quite a few people who come up to me and say, "Can you coach me?" And I coach my dad, my sister's boyfriend. So I coach a few people, and then some other people have come up to me and said, "Coach me." And the first thing I say to them is, I don't have a qualification in coaching or nutrition. They may ask. So for example, when I came out with Red S, they say, "Oh, what should I eat?" And I said, "I cannot tell you what to eat because I'm not qualified. I just can't give you that information. I will tell you what I do and what's helped for me. And if it works, like, so be it." But whereas these influencers, I think all of them think they're qualified in every bloody thing. They can give all this information, and it's just, it's
So would your advice be to people to just be careful with what they're kind of seeing online and what they're seeing on social media and who they're taking this information from?
Well, that's another thing. Like, I think Reddit started because social media can be so dangerous. It can be so good, but almost 80% of the time it can be so dangerous. You see, I've spoken to a lot of girls about it. They see this influencer, 6-pack, skinny girl running well, and you're like, okay, I have to be like that. And they follow this. So it is quite demanding. But with these running networks, like you were saying, I think they are so good. Like before the London Marathon, you saw all these running groups on the Saturday morning. You're running around Battersea and parkruns, for example. I'm a massive fan of parkruns. They're not a massive fan of me because when it's like, well,
guy's back again.
When it's
this guy just do one. Jeez.
When it's a 4-lap course and you're shouting on your right, they are not a happy bunch. Yeah. So you get some, like the last parkrun I did, someone called me a wanker.
I think that could have been me. I'm joking, I don't do parkruns. I'm too crap at running to do parkruns.
I did a parkrun last Saturday.
Did you?
Yeah.
I walked past a parkrun, if that counts.
Was that a good one?
It's nice. I live in Porthcawl. It's a nice little seafront. Where do you live now?
I'm in Cardiff.
Oh, nice. Come down to Porthcawl, mate.
Yeah, but I was thinking of doing parkrun tomorrow, but tomorrow looks quite windy, so because it's on the seafront, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't want to do on the windy day.
I'll wave you on. I'll be like, go on, boys.
All you'll see me and him together is the start.
Yeah. Oh,
so what would your K pace? What would that be like? Time?
So for a 5K right now, it's 2:45.
So what's that?
2:45. So 2 minutes 45.
Can't do the math.
Let's do like 12 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah, 13:45.
Oh,
so my PB for a 5K is 13:38. But I want to get a bit quick.
How much?
13:38.
For how far?
5K.
I know. There you
Sorry, hang on a minute. What?
And my 10K is 28:01.
28.
Sorry, I don't even think I've run a 5K in 28. Oh my gosh,
Mate.
that's insane.
So I'm doing a 10K soon, but again, like.
Sorry, I'm still not over that. That's mental.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's freakish, isn't it?
That's incredible. You must be sprinting.
Thing is, genuinely, when I was lighter, because I didn't have the power, it did feel like that.
Yeah,
whereas now
now
the pace actually feels a bit better. I'm trying to.
What's your heart rate sitting at when you're doing this?
So, for example, when I did Bath Half, so I wear a chorus heart rate monitor. I do everything to heart rate and lactate. And so
your
lactate,
zones and stuff, is it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you've done lactate, but you prick your finger and it tells you your
Yeah.
values after. But my heart rate, so for Bath Half, for an hour and 2 minutes running was 182 average.
Yeah.
And 188 max. And then for a 10K, it could be like 186, 188.
Yeah.
And then for the marathon, which was 2 hours and 11 minutes, it was 178. So it's like, for racing, it's always over 180, which I'm pretty proud of. But yeah.
Mate, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
From now that you've, like I said, used your platform to speak about Red S, have you had anyone reach out to you saying thank you for speaking out about it, or have you had any guys reach out to you to feel like, oh, this is what I'm... Because I feel like women are more open with speaking around those sort of things, but it's different for guys to then share those vulnerable things around, like eating and your body image and things like that. Have you had any guys reach out to you?
I've had hundreds and hundreds, and I can kind of see what they mean, but I've been very I think I'm quite an outspoken character. I will just like, I'm one of those guys who will just speak to anyone.
Nice, mate.
And I think that helps my characteristic in terms of speaking out about it. And I think running is now like, before when I was young, it was all about being skinny and stuff. Whereas now I feel like you see some of these marathon runners and they're actually starting to become bigger. So I don't know if you've heard, do you watch much athletics like Ingebrigtsen? So he is bigger than the normal guy and he's winning Olympic gold. And I think running is now becoming, and the shoe technology, like we are starting to see the strength runners dominating the skinnier guys. And I think a load of guys reach out to me and I wanted to like prove to people that like, I put my hand up because I always used to think you had to be light and stuff. I want to now show like I've put on 10, 15 kilos. I still haven't run a PB, but it's going to come. And that day I run it, I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm stronger than I've ever been.
Yes,
and I just want to be that, like that first person to, because how many, I reckon 80% of people probably stop running through injury, and it can sort of be to underfueling. And if I can be that person to try and change it around, like, I know it's like my following now is so weird. It's like 50-year-old men and women, or 14, 50-year-old girls and guys. It's such a weird,
really?
yeah, because it's like, it's that sort of phase where youngsters, they want to be the best, and all they think about is, I mean, if you go over, you must go to a park and you see the skinniest people, normally the 14, 15, the youngsters almost, because they think being light is faster. And at that age, it's horrible to say it actually works. And like that's another horrible thing. I said, if you said to me, okay, you have 6 months of running and then after 6 months you will never run again, it's horrible to say the best thing to do is to lose weight, but you are taking the biggest risk. That means I will never run again. Whereas I want another 20 years in this career, I need to maintain this weight. I can't lose this weight. And that's the big thing for me.
Wow.
So how would you feel now with managing the Red S? Now that you know about it, and now that you've seen the difference in how you feel and how you're performing with the weight gain, how do you feel mentally as well as physically?
So before London Marathon, so I didn't weigh myself for 1.5 years. And then I weighed myself once a month for the London Marathon just because I didn't want to lose, because marathon training, I was doing like 93 miles a week and 4 hours of cross training. So I was doing a lot of training, and I was like, okay, I just want to make sure I don't lose too much. And it was annoying because in February and March, I actually put on 1 kilo into March. But I looked at myself in the mirror and I actually put on more muscle. Like, for example, I can smash out however many pull-ups, and I could smash out more in March and February. And it actually, for that 24 hours, my girlfriend even said, my head went sideways a bit. And like all I was thinking about was my old thoughts, like, why haven't you lost weight? Why are you heavier? Like old thoughts keep bringing back. So that 24 hour, I was like, oh crap, is something going to happen?
Bit triggering.
Yeah, exactly. Am I going to go back to how I was? And then after that, I then came fourth at London Marathon. It was quite, because it was the start of the bloody heat wave we had, and it was like, and I performed the best. Have you heard of Alex Yee? So he's Olympic triathlon champion. Wow. And I caught up to him. I wanted to beat him. He beat me in the very end. But I'm now showing to everyone, like, I'm beating all these Olympians. I'm getting to my best I've been.
Love that.
And I'm making, my big motto now is, like, small improvements. So the big thing, like, I don't care. I'm increased each time by 1 second. That is an improvement. Instead of every big jump I used to make, I got injured.
But do you think, I know you're saying you want to prove people wrong and prove it to everybody else, but do you not think you're proving it to yourself? Because I've only just met you, and I'm hearing all these things, and I'm like, I'm beaming, I'm like smiling, hearing about like what you'd been through and the place you're in and where you are now. And I literally met you about an hour and a half ago, and I'm buzzing for you. I'm like, yes, I love hearing this. So like, hang on, you're proving this to yourself.
I am. I think the big thing was, like, Katie said to me, after
this
Bath
is the
half,
girlfriend that you got to put a ring on.
She said after Bath half, she was like, she said to me, like, she's been through the last 2 years and she's seen me get better and better, but she said to me, like, now I know why you run, because she saw, like, I was like, my coach was at the finish line when I crossed that line to win Bath half, and she saw like there's a video of me like screaming with joy, and she was like, now she sees why I've been through all of this, we've been through all this, and she's like, for that 30 seconds I saw you then, she's like, that's what it's for. Nice. And the same thing in London. And then it's like, makes you think like, okay, this is why I do it. And I get, it's annoying because then like in rugby, you guys like have games like a lot more. Whereas for me, because they're long distance, like we do like 3 big races a year, and you're training 365 days for a 30-second segment at the end of a race, and that's it. But
that's where it's for, like you said. Yeah.
But then it's like those 30 seconds, like you just like I was just smiling for weeks.
And just going back to Katie, I know you said that what you'd been through affected your relationships with a lot of people, but now where you're at now, do you reckon it's made your relationship so much stronger?
She said she even said to me, like, she was very, very close. She actually said to me, she was like, she thought if she broke up with me, it would put me in an even worse place when I was struggling. She was like, she actually didn't know, like, the reason I knew, because at the end of 2021, in 2022, when I said I walked out of a restaurant, she burst into tears with my parents, and I'm like, how am I letting my girlfriend cry in front of my parents?
Yeah.
It was a horrible, like, but my head was just in it. And she said to me, like, I could not leave you like this. She just said, I just couldn't leave you, because she was like, I just don't know what, I would have never, like, I was never, like, harmful or anything bad like that. She was like, I just don't know what would have happened. So she's been on my back from minute one, and it's just like, and now we're getting a house together in Cardiff and stuff, and we're getting a house because she's already moving in her dog, so her parents have 5 dogs, and her favourite dog's coming. She's already
nice. That's so nice.
What dog is it?
It's a Cocker Spaniel, so they're a shooting family. So
cute.
I got a King Charles Spaniel. They're nice.
Oh really?
Yeah, mate.
Cute. I think what's really nice about that story is, obviously, you hit rock bottom together, and she's seen that. Now, she could have easily walked away. As much as she was saying she was scared of what could have happened, she could have. But I think it's nice that you've had someone stick by you.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's been able to witness, like you said, that moment at the end of the race. And then you're being able to now go through this together. So I think that's pretty incredible to have that sort of support. And then also for her side to be like, oh, no, I stood by this guy, and now I'm seeing everything that he's been through is really worth it because of, like you said, experienced that moment with you at the end of the race.
Exactly. It's like, because I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for, like, her, my family and stuff. And same with my parents. My parents they're just so excited for everything. And my sister as well, because we need to do it, but we're gonna go for, like, the siblings marathon world record.
Whoa, cool!
And she's run 2:31 for the marathon. So she's gonna aim for the next. Well, I'm aiming for the next Olympics. She'll aim for the one after. So
your competition's your sister.
she's always been better than me. That's the horrible thing. But she's like, now I've got her in the running, but I coach her.
Oh,
but that's a bad thing. So
you're coaching her to be better than you.
That's good.
But
when I started down there.
Exactly. But when I started coaching her, she did this. She won this 20 miler, and of course, when you finish the race, you're tired. But she was, I talked about the low in iron. She was white in the face, and I was like, "Oh, congrats!" Well, I was buzzing for her, but I was like, "We need to get in blood." She had anemia. She was vegan, and all those I don't know how, but all those vegan, all those vegan runners and stuff. Like, okay, I could get into another whole conversation.
That's another episode.
And then I told her, "Okay, what can we do?" And she's like, "Okay, have you had like a vegetarian?" She went to vegetarian. Her blood still wasn't improving. Like, and I know they say you can get it, but it just wasn't improving. Then she went to pescatarian, so I think you eat fish.
Yeah.
Again, they were starting to improve, but she was starting to fall back.
Yeah.
Then I was like, mate, you're going to have to eat meat.
The
first time she ate meat, she went straight to liver.
Oh my God, what? That is rogue.
I know, and she was like, my stomach really hurts. I'm like, Molly, they're wrong. You could have eaten chicken first.
You could have eased your way in, straight to liver.
Yeah. And bloods have significantly improved. But everything I've been through, she's like almost been through.
Yeah.
So, and then I was like, okay, we're going to have to start, like my coach said, start from rock bottom. So I've got to gain all this experience. She then goes out into Valencia, runs 2:31, top 10 fastest British girls in 24. And her bloods are now on a good level. So it's like I'm almost using a guinea pig. I'm just showing people like everything I've been through. I've almost had every single niggle or injury in the books that I almost have that experience. And when you see, like, for example, there's a lot of London physios people speaking to, and they cost 150 quid an hour. They're so much money, but they've never run their times of being through the years of what, like, say, I'm not trying to big myself
No,
up, but they've
100%,
never
it
been
makes
through
sense.
Yeah.
And then when
It's a
Molly,
life experience, yeah.
exactly, and then when Molly comes to me and says, I have this injury, and this physio's like, you have to do blah blah blah, and it doesn't work, and I'm like, Molly, I've literally had your injury, this is
Yeah.
what I've done, and she
Yeah.
follows it and it works, and
What's
I'm
your
like,
chicken nugget, Molly?
Well, it's amazing though, and it's a credit to you though, man, because you've had so many experiences that you now can like pass the message on to these other people, like your sister. Thank God she's your sister, because you're literally like the first person to, you know, like you're the first direct contact with, like, just try this.
Yeah.
You're not giving her a miracle, you're just tweaking it slightly, you know.
Yeah, and it's well, because I can, like, I'm sometimes I'm quite rude to her, but in a healthy way, like,
Yeah.
because she's my sister, isn't it? And but that I know once my running finishes, that's what I want to do. I want to try, and because there's still a lot of older coaches, say 60 to 90-year-old coaches, who are in that mindset of the 1980s when lighter was faster, and they're telling girls, like one instance, I can't bring up a name, but they basically said to the girl, if you don't have your period, it's fine for running.
Yeah.
And she came to me and was like, whoa, something's not right. And I'm like, okay, so that I kind of want to change the whole outlook of
And
running.
the whole stereotype around that.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
Well, I love what you're doing. I love your
Thank
energy.
you.
Like I said, I've pretty much smiled the entire episode because I think listening to your experience and listening to the dark place you're in, and then how you're using that to fuel not just your own future but everybody else's, and like you're helping your sister and stuff. I think that's pretty damn cool.
I appreciate that.
And I think it could be so easy for you to just give up, and it'd be so easy for you to just be like, I'm not doing this anymore. But like I said, I know you're trying to do this to prove to everybody else, but I think more importantly, you're proving to yourself how like strong you are. And I think that life experience that you gained is why you've got this strength, and I really admire that.
Exactly. But I think also the easy way out is just give up.
Yeah.
And it's like my parents would like, they did say to me, because I like, before, like in university, I worked like click and collect and Asda and stuff, and they literally said to me, Jake, you'll just be working click and collect, and I didn't like that job very much. I was like, okay, I need to change something.
Yeah.
I need to get back into this running and nice. The best thing about running is the people you meet, like in the places you go to. Like, I've been to Uganda, for example. Like, how many people in say they've been to? No one will ever have heard of Captura and stuff like that. And now, because I'm getting back to the level where I'm getting invited to races, I can go venture out more. But that's the worst thing. And another thing is, because I have base salary off Nike and NN, so you make all your money from appearance fees. When you're injured, you make no money. So it's like you lose that.
That pressure.
It's what, you know, when you work, you get that bonus.
Yeah.
So you don't get a bonus. So my year of injury, I got no bonuses.
So I suppose it's another incentive for you to be like, well, I can't get injured because this is my income. Yeah.
I know, exactly. So it helps you. So I need to make,
Well, we have a closing tradition on the podcast. The previous guest leaves the next guest a question. Now, we had episode 1 for the season. However, one of the questions left was a question that only a guy can answer. So Kate couldn't answer this question. However, you've got 2 questions to answer. Okay. One question for you. We did an episode with oddballs, and it was on testicular cancer. Yeah. So the one question was, when was the last time that you checked your balls? Ollie.
I'm just doing it right now. I'm going to give it a test.
When was the last time other than right now that you checked your balls?
Shower this morning.
But did you
like,
check
not
them?
A proper check, just a feel.
Maybe, yeah.
Like,
maybe.
I don't sit there like checking them out fully, but I reckon.
Is it something you're aware of, though?
I think you'd notice a pain or a lump in there if I was in the shower, and I wouldn't.
I've never gone anywhere to do it. Is that a bad thing? What do you think? I don't know.
No.
In the shower. When's the last time? This morning. Not actively though. Like just there.
Okay, but are you both in the mindset where you would check now and again that you'd be like, I need to check? Okay, cool. All right. Thank you for answering that question. Okay. Second question. If I were to ask you to do or address the thing that scares you the most, what would it be? Okay, this is
do
deep.
or address?
Yeah, if I were to ask you to do or address the thing that scares you the most, what would it be? Jake can answer first.
You can do it.
I think mine's failure.
Whoa.
Like I said, like if I gave up, I've screwed up, basically. Mine's just, I can't fail. When I was at rock bottom, I felt that like it's a failure, and I never want to get back to that level. So it's like,
got you. Yeah. All.
Mine, I've done it, but I'm scared of heights, so I did skydiving.
Wow.
So I dressed it.
Nice.
So when I was a kid, when I was like 16, I was meant to go Australia. Well, I went to Australia, and my brother and all my family did it, and I chickened out. So I went back last year for Christmas, and skydived.
Love that for you.
Didn't
I am
enjoy
also
it.
petrified of heights.
Didn't enjoy one bit of it, but we did it.
Have you both ever been to Awkward?
Yeah.
Awkward.
Awkward.
The
Awkward.
theme
Auckland.
Awkward. No, Awkward. The theme park.
Yeah,
The theme park.
No.
Okay, there's a theme park in Wales called Awkward,
It's the one with the,
Pembrokeshire. Yes, Speed. Yeah.
and the water hits you. at the
No,
end.
but you know Speed, the roller coaster.
Yeah.
I was so scared the first time I went on it 'cause I'm scared of heights that I peed myself. And I was a teenager. I was in denim shorts. I had to walk on Awkward.
Have you ever
With
peed
peanut
yourself
pants.
outside of the ride before?
Not quite sure. Rugby game now and again.
Do you pee yourself at a rugby game?
For a minute, really hard, yeah.
Really?
And
Really?
I get ripped really hard, and I'm like do around my period, and I'll
Really?
bit of wheel come out, can't I? But yeah.
Fair play.
Anyway, the point
Anyway.
of my story was that I'm also scared of heights, and now we're talking about me peeing myself. Episode done. Thank you so much. I loved the entire episode. I learned so much, but more so, I think I just loved hearing about your journey. Obviously, wasn't nice to hear about the difficulties that you've been through, but I think what's most inspiring is the mindset that you've built from that experience and then where you are now. Sorry, your running times are actually ridiculous. I feel very embarrassed.
He's a professional.
I know, but it's cool, and I need to run after this episode. But no, thank you so much. Like, you've been so open, you've been so inspiring, and yeah, thank you so much for your
I
time.
appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me.
That's okay.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it, brother. It's been inspiring to hear your story, what you're doing now, and keep on keeping on.
No, exactly.
And Ollie's going to join you on a park run, and you're going to
Yeah,
absolutely
full court.
smoke him.
I'll just get a photo of this. And then bye.
Love that. Okay. So that's the end of this episode. And remember to keep saying it how it is.